Ugh. Hey dude, what's up?
Hey man, what's up?
I see that you're working hard on editing some content. That's pretty good, that's pretty chill. I can respect that. I find it kind of sexy. What you working on?
I had a really great idea for a video and I'm thinking this is gonna be a big one. It's the greatest Batman game. And I'm really thinking if I...
Oh, the greatest Batman game ever? Dude, it's obviously Arkham City. I mean, come on, who doesn't love that game? I mean, you got fucking Joker, you fight him while he's sick, and then you got like Clayface and shit. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up, I don't know, but Arkham City is the greatest one, man. You definitely have to talk about Arkham City. Or Arkham Origins, right? It's either one of those two.
Yeah. Of course it is. God, what other Batman game would it be about? I mean, come on, man. Of course I'm gonna be talking about, that one.
Like, why wouldn't you talk about Arkham City? It is clearly the best Batman game in the whole series. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And fuck that Arkham Knight shit. Arkham Knight was dog shit. Too much Batmobile. Oh, I'm Batman. So dumb. It doesn't come anywhere close to Arkham City. Anyway, I'm gonna go in here and wait for you and I to have sex. Hopefully your review will be done.
I'll see you in there. This is gonna get heavy.
Much like Half-Life 2, this will be a very hard game to cover. Due to the immense length of the game itself, I won't be covering every single moment within it, but I'll certainly go over the important stuff. Growing up in a household with siblings obsessing over comic books, Batman was no secret to me. The world's greatest detective and most badass hero out there, hospitalizing everyone who dares try to throw a punch in his direction. When I was 13, my brother Dylan bought a brand new copy of Batman Arkham Asylum for the Xbox 360. I loved watching him play due to my lack of skills at the time to play it myself. It was a gritty, darker themed game based around the Gotham universe that I hadn't yet seen before. Then of course, as the years followed, I got more in touch with the sequels like Arkham City and Origins. I hadn't bought a single copy of a Batman game until I walked into GameStop one fine day and didn't even notice that it was the opening day for the newest title in the series, Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could I possibly label Arkham Knight as the greatest Batman game when the others are praised a little bit more than this one? Don't worry, I'm gonna go over that as I discuss the storyline. Keep in mind, this is probably my longest video to date on the channel, so I'll be including chapters for every important segment. When I left GameStop that day, I had never felt happier to spend $60 on a AAA game. I popped that fucker into my PS4 and played it all night. What I can say about the game isn't nearly enough to justify its quality, but I'll try my best to reimagine the emotions and experience I had while playing it. First of all, the biggest marketing piece was the introduction of the Batmobile into the Arkham universe. Fit with a destructive tank module and super fast turbo speed, in my opinion, the game would feel very empty without it. It's the first game in the series to give you a vehicle in an open world. Gotham feels huge in this game with all the different places you can go, and the city constantly shines from the glimmer of the endless rain. The city never looked so fucking elegant and dark before, at least not to me. And the introduction? Oh my god, it's just so good. The opening scene where the police officer confronts the strange smoking man in the diner is merely icing on the cake, as he is soon poisoned and attacked by an endless horde of, I don't know, these fucking things. You take control of the cop and begin shooting up the place only to be tackled by one of the monsters. Once the gameplay ends, you discover that the officer was under the effects of Scarecrow's latest fear toxin, unknowingly murdering innocent people. And it only gets better from here. Everything about the introduction is phenomenal, and I absolutely adored the cinematography and graphics. The opening shot of Gotham in shambles as it's evacuated, left as a barren wasteland belonging to bandits and scumbags, then suddenly the camera flies up and we see the legend himself, Batman in the fucking flesh. He's voiced by Kevin Conroy, who unfortunately passed away on November 10th of last year. May you forever rest in peace, man. I'm beyond thankful I got to grow up with this rendition of Batman for my whole life. There's nobody like him. The game begins with Batman discovering that Scarecrow is back, and worse than ever. He plans on releasing a toxic weapon upon Gotham's streets, plaguing the city with murderous, crazed citizens and bandits bandits. He meets up with Commissioner Gordon, who I genuinely thought was a great character throughout this game. We've seen Gordon in previous installments of the Arkham series, but I'd like to think he's a lot more grounded here. He's wise, he cares about his family, and he cares about the dying Dark City we all know. His daughter, Barbara Gordon, is Batman's secret sidekick, known as Oracle. One thing that has always been apparent throughout the Arkham series is how in-depth each of the thugs and villains are. Nameless nobodies that you hospitalize will often engage in random conversations that Batman intercepts through his radio, and most of the time it's really cool to hear. Sure, it's cheesy, but this is a comic book game, so I'd expect nothing less. Come to think of it, this is also the first Batman game that was rated M for mature. That came as a shock to me, considering there aren't many scenes in it that qualify it as such an adult game. But now that I'm remembering, there are some really amazing scenes and really dark moments. Batman interrogates a thug by running his fucking head over with the Batmobile. If I saw that as a kid, I'd shit my pants. People get shot, people die, and it's overall a very adult-themed game. I think they earned the M rating, but I am a bit disappointed Batman never swears. How awesome would it have been if, like, I don't know, he beats the shit out of somebody and says, "Fuck you, asshole." I'm kidding, but let's continue with the story, as there's still so much more to go over, and I have a lot of work to do. Gordon meets with Batman and informs him that Scarecrow is hiding somewhere. He's interrupted when a military truck begins chasing after a police officer in the streets. This is where we get our hands on the one and only fucking Batmobile. Holy shit. I never thought in my life I'd be playing an open-world Batman game with such a beast of a vehicle from the official lore. It's outstanding how much fun I have when operating the tank and chasing after these bastards. Batman interrogates the thug, which is always such a fucking amazing scene when it happens. You can truly see the depths that Batman will go to get answers and save his city from peril. You can see just why Kevin Conroy will never be topped when it comes to this character. Once Batman gets to Chinatown after discovering Scarecrow's location, he also discovers that Poison Ivy is involved in this mess somehow. He questions her when suddenly she attacks him with a vine. Oh, never mind. I forgot he's Batman. What an unintentionally funny scene. So Batman transports Ivy back to GCPD. She informs him that there was a meeting involving all of Gotham's most heinous villains in an effort to work together in order to bring down their biggest threat, the Batman. She declined Scarecrow's offer, and he abandoned her in the city. Once you get her back to GCPD, this is where you can explore further and even interact with all of the officers inside. It doesn't serve much purpose, but they each have something different to say and act realistically whenever Batman approaches them. Going into the back of the station, you can discover the evidence room where some of the worst Arkham lunatics have had their stuff repossessed and placed on display for the other officers to see. Mr. Freeze, Scarface, Ra's al Ghul, and even the Joker have items here, and it's a good reminder of all the progress the player has made throughout the Arkham series of games. It feels kind of meta to see these items after playing through all of them. Once you're done fucking around, you can talk to Gordon and discover more main objectives for you to complete, such as rescuing a firefighter team that's been kidnapped by thugs, investigating a strange series of homicides, and a few others I'll get to as the video goes along. For now, I want to continue with the main objective, stopping Scarecrow. I think now is the perfect time to mention how much I enjoy the combat in any of the Arkham games. It may be as simple as pressing the right buttons at the right time, but goddamn is it satisfying to take control of the world's greatest detective as he cracks skulls and breaks his enemies into pieces. Jesus Christ, I don't think I'd get back up after that. Are you sure Batman hasn't killed anyone? Fighting thugs and militia in this game is pretty brutal and offers some amazing animations for Batman's various counterattacks. Eventually, Batman figures out that Ace Chemicals is the location where Scarecrow plans to produce his toxin upon all of Gotham. With the bridge destroyed, you have to rescue the 5 Ace workers scattered throughout the compound in order to lower the bridge and get the Batmobile across. Once that's done, we finally find out who's behind the massive militia, a strange concealed character who refers to himself as the Arkham Knight. We don't know anything about him right now other than the fact that he hates Batman and wants him deader than a doornail. The two of them exchange some pretty awesome dialogue. Every time the Arkham Knight appears, I get goosebumps knowing that Bruce is about to fuck everything up for him. I personally think this game's writing was perfect, and everyone's performance is so convincing that it's almost like playing a canonical entry in the films. Anyways, after rescuing the only other worker who survived, Batman confronts Scarecrow directly in the chemical chamber. This is when Batman is trapped, and Barbara Gordon is suddenly kidnapped. In an effort to at least dampen the effect of the inevitable bomb, Batman risks his sanity and his life to slowly insert these giant coolant canisters into slots. But be careful, if you put the canisters in too quickly, the game is over. Then, suddenly, this happens. The Joker appears out of nowhere, despite being dead for the longest time. It's pretty clear from the previous Arkham games that the Joker is a very important character. I mean, what the fuck am I saying? Batman would be nothing without Joker. Voiced by Mark Hamill, I still think his performance goes hand in hand right alongside Heath Ledger. This is when we get a flashback and take control of Gordon. Entering the Batcave, he interacts with these strange prisoners who come off very aggressive towards him. Oh, Jesus, what the fuck? Yeah, that's one thing I should have mentioned. This game is good at jump scaring you when you least expect it. There are many moments where you're simply just playing the game, maybe free roaming, and suddenly something comes out of nowhere to scare the fuck out of you. It's totally unexpected, but in my opinion, it works every time. Also, why did Batman just hit me with Riz out of nowhere?
Sin City was a maybe.
No, as it turns out, these strange prisoners are victims of the Joker's infected blood, henceforth taking his maniacal attributes and mindset, combined with his aggression towards Batman. Desperate to find a cure, Batman is holding them here until he can figure it out. This makes Gordon uncomfortable, but Bruce feels he's close to a solution with one man, Henry Adams. He's the old man we saw on the missing persons poster in the cafe. Kind of disturbing to think that Batman's the one who kidnapped him. And to think, you really don't see how similar Batman and the Joker are until you experience all of the Arkham games. This one, as a major example, shows Batman going to extreme lengths in order to save his friends and his city from the impending Armageddon that was coming. Despite how you twist it, we all humanely know that if someone like Batman were holding sick people hostage, even if they're violently murderous, it would be wrong. This is surely something only the Joker would do. There's a fifth cell that is vacant. Gordon asks where the fifth victim is, to which Batman replies, "He'll be here soon." We'll touch more upon that later. When Batman awakens, he finds that Scarecrow's toxin now causes him to see the dead Jester, the Joker himself. He's not really there, obviously, but lives in Batman's mind as a side effect of the gas, so we think. He appears often, and no matter how dark the situation gets, he always cracks a joke or a long-winded laugh, forcibly breaking up the emotional aspects of many later scenes. Just like Kevin Conroy as Batman, I really don't think there's any topping Mark Hamill as the Joker. Batman escapes Ace Chemicals as it explodes in a contained ball of fire and debris. Desperate to figure out where they took Barbara, he plunges back into the night, more pissed off than ever. Don't forget about those jump scares. It happens again when you're just minding your own business, grappling around the city, trying to fly around. Oh, Jesus! Fuck! What the? Oh my god. So that's ManBat, apparently, or Dr. Kirk Langstrom. During a freak experiment where he combined a bat's DNA with his very own, he besieged his own lab and murdered his scientist's wife in the process. Let me tell you, the first time I ever encountered ManBat, I jumped out of my fucking seat. He's just one of the many other puzzle pieces of the equation, and can be apprehended if Batman searches for him long enough. Eventually, Batman does get a lead. A car accident that had left evidence behind indicating Oracle's possible location. Using Bruce's state-of-the-art stuff and things, he analyzes the crime scene and determines that Oracle had maced the driver and fled from the vehicle. While crawling away, the Arkham Knight fired a warning shot to recapture her and get her out of the area. There's actually a few segments that require Batman's detective skills, which I highly appreciate. Much like the other Arkham games, Batman utilizes a variety of gadgets and evidence to factor in what happened, how it happened, the whole kit and caboodle. It becomes a bit more tedious in certain areas such as Stag's airship. Yeah, look, I know I pretty much have no right to say that Arkham Knight is necessarily the best in the series, especially during certain segments of the game. Stag's airship is easily one of the biggest drags of the story for me. Batman has to hack into the airship's mobility control and solve an elaborate series of puzzles doing so. It's interrupted a few times with some combat, but then it just goes right back to tilting the fucking place and moving crates. Plus, Simon Stagg himself is very obviously hiding something, so we're forced to go through the entire ship just to get some answers. Thank God we get some more hand-to-hand combat with the militia. I was afraid the boredom would kill me. So Batman decides to go after the Arkham Knight in order to find Barbara. As he makes his way inside, the Joker within his own mind is constantly making him question why he's doing this, stating that it won't change the inevitable fallout that was doomed to occur. He chases down the Knight in an APC only to discover it's one of his militiamen in disguise. This is when we get probably the most insane interrogation scene ever. Who would have thought that Batman, Gotham's savior, would sink as low of a depth as to crushing a man's skull underneath the weight of the Batmobile? This, like I stated earlier, is such a Joker move. What a subtle yet effective metaphor. I'm not complaining though, this scene is fucking awesome. So the next couple of minutes for this video are only going to be me bringing you up to speed on the events that follow. There's a lot I want to say about the game itself, so please forgive me if I mess up or skip over a part you were expecting. I'm very limited on storage space. Nightwing appears to inform Batman that he's been tracking the Penguin's illegal gun smuggling ring for weeks now. Since the Penguin has ties with Scarecrow after Ivy mentioned their meeting, Batman decides to help Dick Grayson and interrogates Penguin. This is when we discover that Simon Stagg also plays a role in this twisted story somehow. He was involved with the creation of the toxin that Scarecrow plans to unleash across Gotham. When we find him, he claims nothing is wrong and that everything is hunky-dory, until Batman has to rescue him from the militia, that is. Then, suddenly this happens. I should point out how ominously scary this game is at times. Out of nowhere, every single guy that Batman just kicked the shit out of stands back up. As your eyes pan across the environment, they slowly begin turning into a bunch of laughing, maniacal jokers. You can beat them up if you want, it's pretty funny. Oh, Jesus Christ! Even as a hallucination, I'm sure Joker felt that in his grave. Nice fucking kick. So anyway, Batman hurries to the secondary airship. I just said derriere. He confronts Scarecrow, but fuck, there's two of them, of course. It doesn't matter which one you choose, as the same cutscene triggers every time. Batman gets sprayed in the face with that delicious Scarecrow juice and experiences a horrifying nightmare where the Joker takes control of his body. Upon awakening, Scarecrow reveals Barbara's location. When Batman gets there, he discovers she's been placed in a sealed chamber. The toxin pours into the room like a waterfall, and then in a vain attempt to get herself away from the threat, she brings the gun to her own head and pulls the trigger. The first time I played this game, I was in shock. Oracle is fucking dead? What's even worse is Batman falls to his knees in defeat. He couldn't save her in time. The balls that Rocksteady had to try and pass off that one of the canonical characters of the story was officially killed off and gone for good sent chills down my spine. I didn't know what to expect from this point on. So, without Barbara Gordon, Batman leaves the place and vows to make all of them pay for the damage they've done. Consider this Batman's official turning point for the rest of the story. To be honest with you, I'm just really fucking happy to finally be out of Stagg's airships. Once again, I'm gonna jump ahead in time for you all. As fantastic as the story is, I'd really recommend you just play it yourself and dive through Gotham City as the greatest comic book hero of all time to see every little thing it has to offer. If I talked about everything in this, I'd be here all week. Eventually, Batman does come face to face with the Arkham Knight, but he doesn't get far. He disables the missile launcher that's keeping his Batwing from entering this section of Gotham. After that's destroyed, Batman gets an emergency call from Henry Adams, the guy who was infected with Joker's blood but showed no symptoms. It turns out Panessa Studios was attacked by the one and only Harley Quinn, coming back to take the Joker victims away. Once you defeat the 3 Joker victims in some theatrical and satisfying combat with Robin, Harley Quinn is recaptured. Things take a sudden dark turn when Henry himself decides to kill every prisoner in the cells, finally revealing the Joker's sickness that he had hid so well. In a vain and sickening display, Henry shoots himself after looking into Batman's eyes and seeing that he too is infected. In fact, he's the last Joker patient. Robin tells him to go into the cell, but instead, Batman locks him inside and proceeds to the elevator to assist Ivy with stopping another drone onslaught. Yeah, it's time for me to address the elephant in the living room. I'm highly impressed with the mechanics of the Batmobile, especially when engaging in combat with the drones, but it does happen way too often. It seems like every other mission in this game requires Batman to use the tumbler and destroy drones or orient himself around them to find their weak points. Although I'm a major fan of this entry of the series, faults and all, I can't excuse the excessive amount of times they force you to use the fucking Batmobile. Even in certain side missions, like for the Riddler or Firefly, you are forced against your will into completing an obstacle course using the car. It's pretty excessive, and that's coming from someone who, like I said, idolizes this entry in the games. After Scarecrow activates the Cloudburst, Gotham is engulfed by his fear toxin. Surprisingly, when I first played, I was very shocked that this even happened. Scarecrow won? And now his toxic gas spreads across Gotham like a plague. In order to confront the Cloudburst tank, Batman has to find a certain battery for the tumbler inside Stag's airship. Ugh. Great. We have to go back to fucking Stag? Well, after that, you get the Nimbus battery. There's an intense scene where Batman has to slowly insert the battery into the car while ignoring Joker's influence and fighting off any crazed thugs. Afterwards, you have to face the Arkham Knight. But it's tedious as all hell. You have to dodge his line of sight and aim around all sides of the tank to disable its defenses. Every time you shoot one of the spots on the tank, he automatically aggroes on you and you have to drive away, dodging his rockets. Even though this mini-boss is kind of neat, it doesn't really feel all that different from fighting the regular drones. Even when you directly face the Arkham Knight, it's disappointingly tedious. It's not a fist fight or something cool like that. Instead, he operates a massive fucking drill and you have to play hide and seek with him. So wait, the Arkham Knight boss is just a cat and mouse game with the Batmobile? That's lame as all hell, but I guess I should get used to using the Batmobile at this point. To be honest, fighting the Knight's giant drill is still kind of a guilty pleasure to me. The dialogue alone is fucking sick that the two of them share back and forth. And, big spoiler, you find out that the Arkham Knight is no other than Jason Todd, the original Robin. Tortured and thought to be murdered by the Joker, his mind was broken as Batman never came to his rescue. Earlier in the studio hideout, Batman had visions of Jason Todd's fate after Joker got a hold of him. It's actually a very disturbing scene, with the beaten and bloodied Robin being tortured over and over again. Riddled with anger, he somehow got control of a massive private army in an inhumane, elaborate plan to bring down Bruce Wayne once and for all, for abandoning him at the asylum where Joker ruined him. And guess what? His final fight sucks. You have to once again play hide and seek. Jason aims his rifle in every direction, and your only option is to sneak up on him from below. It's repetitive and gets old quick. In fact, I confusingly died quite a bit on this segment. Although it is still pretty cool due to the performances of the characters and the dialogue they share. Finally, we've reached the last major thing I want to talk about. Arkham Knight's ending. I should also mention that Barbara Gordon is alive. Yeah, while under Scarecrow's toxin, Batman merely witnessed nothing more than an illusion earlier in the game. And once again, we get another shocking cutscene as Jim shoots Batman in order to get his daughter back. Instead, Scarecrow flings her off the roof, but you know who comes back just in time to save her. Fuck yeah, I love this game so much. Soon enough, when he's stripped of all choices, Batman confronts Scarecrow directly. He's told to ditch all of his belongings and get in the back of a truck. He experiences yet another lucid Joker trip where he ends up in the same alleyway where his parents died. You have to fight off Joker in an intense, endless battle of clones. And to be honest, it's kinda cool that you are literally fighting for your sanity here. Eventually, Batman awakens to find that he's been captured by Scarecrow. This entire segment is so well acted and so intense. It's just so good. Revealed for all of the world to see, Bruce Wayne is unmasked as the Batman. Scarecrow's reaction to this day gives me goosebumps as he acts shocked to see the multi-billionaire behind the cowl. So yeah, in a rather shocking display of heroism, or perhaps it was just the fact he didn't have a choice, Bruce willingly allows Scarecrow to reveal his secret identity to the whole world. Now that it's out and the toxin continues to make its way into Batman's system, we go deep into what's left of his infected mind. This is where we take control of the Joker, and by fucking god, this is one of the coolest scenes in video game history. The Batmobile comes in and Joker hops inside. Oh, never mind, it's a fucking Joker mobile. You can actually kill people, blowing up the entire area around you until Joker hops out, and suddenly the game becomes a Call of Duty clone. Joker chases after each of the main villains within Gotham City and murders them in cold blood. It's not exactly graphic or anything, but it's pretty brutal given the fact that Batman has sworn he would never take someone's life. Suddenly, things take a turn when he realizes Batman is slowly regaining control over his own mind. There's an epic segment where you're put back into control by force, and Batman delivers one of the hardest lines in video game history. He reminds Joker that he is the savior, that he is in control. He is the Batman, and nobody will ever take that away. Joker's locked away in what I assume are the deep recesses of Batman's mind, where he will be forgotten. a chilling end to the greatest partnership in the history of comic books. He comes to and sees that Scarecrow isn't finished, but thanks to his newly found heroism, he's no longer afraid of what Crane's toxin can provide. Yet another amazing cutscene where Batman gains the upper hand once again. Whether it be fate or the kind words Batman shared with Jason, he comes back as Red Hood, shooting the gun out of Scarecrow's hand and the cuff restraining our hero. In front of the whole world, Bruce quite literally gives Crane a taste of his own medicine, and the results are fucking badass. Crane's hallucination shows that his deepest fear, after all, was Batman. It really doesn't get any fucking cooler than this, guys. And just like that, it's all over. Scarecrow has been stopped for good, poisoned with the very creation he set out to spread. Now that the entire world knows who Batman is, there's only one thing left to do: commence the Nightfall Protocol. Now, don't be mad, but I won't be covering that ending of the game. It would take me fucking forever to get all of Riddler's trophies, all the while capturing Penguin and Two-Face. But you should know that this is by far my absolute favorite Batman game in the series, and it's one hell of a way to go out, considering we haven't gotten anything close to these mechanics or stories. Look, I know that Arkham Knight isn't the most spectacular of the franchise, but considering this may have been one of the last times Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy came together as these outstanding characters that will live on throughout generations, that's enough to convince me that this one should be idolized. In my opinion, I still love the game with its faults. Sometimes the combat can be a bit wonky, with button presses not working on certain counterattacks, and the camera controls often mess up for me when roaming interior structures. And yeah, I'll admit, my game crashed right at the ending, which confused the shit out of me. I thought I broke my PC for a minute. So there are some technical issues. I agree the Batmobile is used a bit too much, and I can see why a lot of fans didn't quite enjoy this game for that reason. I always roll my eyes when I get to a certain segment that requires destroying countless unmanned cobras, and fighting the Arkham Knight in the mines is pretty tedious on repeated playthroughs. Still, it stands high on my list, and you should give it another shot if you haven't completed it. The story alone, along with the stellar voice acting, is worth it for one of the last great Batman games we're ever gonna get. And I leave you with this: it's okay if you don't agree. Let's all just appreciate that we got to experience them all in their glory, and pay our respects to the legend that brought Batman to light in both animation and video games. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. Thanks for watching, everyone. And as always, I'll see you next time.
If you're lying, I'll break the other one.